So, good morning. I'm here today with Chris Powell, leadership coach and public speaker. And today we're going to talk about change your world leadership tables here. So, um, welcome.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
Yes.
It's great to be here. Thank you again. This is the second time, so I
Yes.
very much appreciate it.
It's been a while, been a while.
It
So,
has.
would you like to introduce yourself a little bit here about your background in leadership training and
Sure.
what this new Change Your World program is about?
Yeah. So I'm retired Navy. I spent 23 years in the Navy. What I did is I built and trained high performance combat teams in the surface fleet and also in aviation. I flew off the carriers, in fact. And we were doing anti-submarine warfare, anti-surface warfare. So I have a lot of leadership training, a lot of leadership experience, managing 400 people. As a matter of fact, managing one program for the entire Navy, for Surface Fleet Navy, for master level acoustic analysts. In the movie Hunt for Red October, Jonesy, I was one of them. So then moved out of that into my own business, had that for several years. Then moved into many other opportunities, including working for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which was quite an experience. I worked at Christian Broadcasting Network, for instance. I also worked at Geico for a little while. So I've got some pretty varied experiences. I've done a lot of coaching around business sales. I've been in sales for quite some time. But what has really excited me over the last couple of years is Change Your World. You can see all this. So if you know who John Maxwell is, then you probably know who I am. And I'm on the President's Advisory Council for the Maxwell Leadership for Change Your World. If you're interested, it's coming from this book, Change Your World. It was published a couple of years ago by John Maxwell and Rob Hoskins, and it's a movement. It's designed to be a movement to infuse values into society. I don't know if you've ever noticed it, but it seems to me there's a bit of a values deficit in our society these days. So this is designed to fuse values, like, for instance, the first 6 values in Change Your World. The first one is hope. Everyone needs hope, don't they? The second one is listening. The third one is valuing every person, which is something that is an equity and diversity piece. The fourth one is integrity. The fifth one is forgiveness. And the last one is multiplication. Why? Because multiplication brings values into society. I can tell you some very specific stories, very powerful stories about what is going on with Change Your World right now. So that's a little bit of an introduction about me and where I'm headed. Does that help?
No, that's absolutely fabulous. So, this is how long has the book been out for now?
2 years.
2
It's been
years,
2
yeah.
years. Yeah, the movement actually started right when the book launched. I was an early adapter to this. So I've probably done more of these transformation tables electronically with people all over the world than probably maybe anybody else. I don't know that for sure. I know people in countries are using this to change their country at the highest levels. For instance, um, in let's see, where is that? It's Guatemala. In Guatemala, the president of the country has invited John Maxwell and the organization in. That started in 2011. And that took off. Now about 13% of the population has gone through that, from the president on through the entire culture, including all of the military, all of the education, all the legislative, all the government, the judicial, and all that. And it has had a profound effect. Little story: there's a halfway house for youth, and these kids were coming out of prison. They committed felonies. I mean, like killing people or trying to kill people. They attempted murder, and they're coming out of prison into this halfway house into society. Well, the recidivism rate, the rate returned to crime within 1 year, at that point was 75%. Now, that's pretty shocking that they returned to prison within 1 year after coming out of a halfway house. That is the exact same rate as in the US right now. That's just saying. So they put the program in for the youth, and that recidivism rate dropped from 75% to 0. Then they put in an adult halfway house. It dropped from 67% to 0. And it's in every prison, now they put it in every prison in Guatemala. So as a matter of fact, it's in New Guinea, Guatemala, Paraguay, Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, and it's in every school system here in South Carolina in the middle schools. For the adult, there's 3 versions of it actually. For the youth, there's a youth version of it. For the adult, which is the Change Your World, and for an evangelistic one, because if you know who John Maxwell is, he is a preacher, and so there is an evangelistic one of these too.
Okay, well, that's great. Could you explain a little bit more about what a table is and the transformation table?
Yes. So what this does, it's either electronic or it is physical, where you sit around. The reason the tables came up is because back in the day, it was not electronic. It was all people would sit around an actual table. So it's a transformation table. And the transformation is happening through bringing values into, because if I internalize values, if I find my own values, as a matter of fact, there's this great little exercise with this leadership value card from the Maxwell Corporate Company. But if I know what my values are, then I know where my strengths lie, and I also know how I should operate in accordance with my values. So a lot of people don't even know what their values are. Because values dictate everything in a person. Okay, so these values tables were originally designed face to face, and people would gather around the table and they go through this lesson on a particular value, like hope, or attitude is another one, work ethic is another one. So there's all these values, and they would discover certain things about themselves in those values. Like, for instance, I thought hope and optimism were the same thing. Come to find out, they are absolutely not the same thing. Hope is an active value where I'm actually using that to encourage myself and to be motivated into taking action. Where optimism is just sitting back, waiting for something positive to happen. Definitely 2 different venues. So anyway, that's where the table talk came from. Now, we do a lot of things. I do a lot of things online. So there's a Change Your World site. It's changeyourworld.com. Changeyourworld.com. Anybody on the planet that has an internet and a computer can facilitate these tables. You yourself can actually go in, do the short training, get certified. It takes maybe 15 minutes. And then you can start your own table online with anyone in the world. I've done these tables, which are actually Zoom calls, is what it turns out to be. And let's see, I've done it in Australia, India, South Africa, Europe, England, everywhere in the US. I mean, it has quite a reach when you start moving into these. Does that help?
Yeah, no, that helps a lot. Back in the last millennium, when I was doing software development, I worked with a company and we created a values and action system for a very large telecom company. And basically anybody who wanted any kind of job had to go through this. And, the process for us was to sit down with the top company executives and figure out what the values were they wanted in an employee that came to work for them. So I can see where this can be really powerful. You said it's actually helping countries.
Countries, it's shifting whole countries. 10% of Paraguay has gone through it. 13% of Guatemala has gone through, the population has gone through this. And if you are very interested in this, get the book. it really gives you a real good insight as to what the whole philosophy is. Now, what some of us are doing on the Maxwell organization is actually bringing them into companies, of course, because it sets a corporate culture. Can you imagine a company that's living off of its values and is talking about its values, its positive values, like communication and like valuing every person, and that's top of mind? That shifts a company's whole attitude, and it makes the company much more productive, much more resilient, and much more collaborative. In fact, if you're familiar with forming, storming, norming, and performing in group dynamics, which is what many companies use and the military uses, that those transformation tables move people, if they're participating in those transformation tables, move people very rapidly from forming through storming into performing and into norming and into high performance rapidly. I mean, within the first 3 sessions. And those sessions are 1 hour apiece, and they're 6 weeks long. So it's 1 hour for 6 weeks. But I have never seen anything that melds people together and gets them talking faster than Change Your World roundtables. It's very active.
No, that's fabulous. So your recommendations go to the website.
Yes.
And what can they sign up for there?
They can sign up to be a facilitator. You can start your own facilitation. Here's something else that I recommend every network marketer on this planet do, is to do the tables, because you can actually build your downline and your actually even your customer base through Change Your World tables. You cannot sell in the tables. You cannot sell the tables. You cannot be paid for these tables. They're free, okay? And you cannot in any way charge for the tables. And they're not designed for you to go in and start, selling people. But what it does do is it builds a huge, wonderful relationship with the people in the tables. So if you're a network marketer, you're trying to build your downline. Well, what should you do is build your downline through values and then help them. Well, obviously, if you do that enough, you're going to build an organization. Every coach out there, I'm a coach. So every coach out there, I would recommend using this in your toolbox. Now you will discover that if you take this all the way through, there's actually 25 values in there. Things like attitude and work ethic and things that a lot of corporations, a lot of companies actually need. So what we do is we actually redline them. So we will say this is a gratis. We'll put a charge to it so we can take it off our taxes, and it's a free value to them. It's complimentary. But I do know one person that does corporate training that added $100,000 in revenues because they were doing that, because the company saw such value in that they hired them for other contracts. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. I'm just going to pop up the website here a little bit.
Yep. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yep. Including the cookie notice.
Yeah. So where it says start table, you click that and you can start your own tables. You don't need me. You don't need John Maxwell. You don't need anybody. You just start your own table and you go out and use this. And what do I gain out of it? I mean, I'm not getting paid for advertising this or anything. Well, my heart is to see transformation in the U.S. I think that we have had a bit of a situation with values, living by positive values in this country. So my thought is to, and this is one of my driving motivations, is to get this into society so it'll mitigate the things like carjackings and drive-by shootings and riots and all that. I mean, if everybody lived by the value of valuing every person, do you think we'd have a bunch of riots? Do you think we'd even have a Ukrainian war right now if everybody on this planet valued every person? Just saying.
Yeah, that's that hope and optimism thing again.
It is.
So,
It is.
yeah,
But there's no way it can happen without a movement.
yeah,
And this is the movement. I've been
and
waiting for this for decades, and here it is.
yeah, and the movement can start with us.
It can only start with us. It
Yes,
cannot start with anybody else but us.
yeah. Well, thank you very, very much. This is absolutely fabulous. For people can go check out changeyourworld.com, sign up, and also you can learn a bit more about the John Maxwell group here. There's a little website there, johnmaxwellgroup.com.
Yep.
And you're on LinkedIn, so people
I
can
am.
connect with you on LinkedIn
Yep.
and continue the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. So put this in your school systems, put it in your city governments, put it in every place, every center of power, in your sports teams. You will not regret it.
Yeah. No, this has been fabulous, Chris. Thanks for joining us, and you're going to help change the world.
You bet.
Yeah.
You bet. All
Okay.
right.
So anyway, thanks for joining in, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.